Aaron, wake up. Wake up, man.
Who are you?
I'm your guardian angel, buddy.
What? What day is it?
It's March 31st.
Oh, does that mean the Miami Open final is going to be tomorrow?
You got it. Tomorrow.
Well, who's in it?
Alexander Zverev.
Alex Zverev?
Yep.
You gotta be kidding me. This must be a bad dream.
Versus John Isner.
John Isner?
Yep.
The tree?
Yeah.
The giant?
Yeah.
No, John Isner?
Yeah.
No. Where's Roger?
Roger lost in the opening round. He's gone.
Roger's out?
Yes, he lost.
Where's Roger? Ah! It can't be true! Ah!
It's reality. We have such an interesting Miami Open men's final teed up for tomorrow. And who could have predicted this? Who could have predicted Alexander Zverev, the German, who's been struggling for the last 6 or 7 months? If we broaden the time scope and go back 12 months, well, there is some evidence that he was due for a breakthrough, right? He won a couple of tournaments last year. People were talking about him last year, but he's been so undependable. Who could have guessed that he might be the champion in Miami this year? I don't think anyone was predicting that. But then on the other side of the court, we're going to have big John Isner. Who could have predicted John Isner to reach the final in Miami? And let me say, Isner looks to be in such fine form, folks. This is going to be an amazing match. But how do we explain it? How can we explain these last two men standing? Del Potro taken out by Isner. How could we have predicted this? Chung taken out by Isner. And of course, Cilic taken out by Isner. I will have to say this. Isner's path to this final seems to have been a little harder in terms of the strength of the opponents on the other side of the court. Compare that to Alex Zverev, who has also been playing very, very well, seems almost unstoppable. He, on the way to the final, beat Nick Kyrgios. That was impressive. Also, Borna Coric, who we've been talking about a little bit. And then finally, Pablo Carreño Busta, which was a good match, an interesting match. Busta did put up a fight, but Zverev did have the edge in the end. This is a hard final to predict because Isner is playing so well. Certainly it's going to be the battle of the giants, right? Battle of the trees. These huge guys, these big servers. Well, a lot of people will give Zverev the odds because I think folks are thinking that Isner is just not quick enough around the court. He's basically kind of a two-trick pony if we judge it from the last few matches. This big serve that he has, as well as these big forehands. The backhand side is not great with Isner. But his footwork has looked so good, and he's been running around the shots to get those forehands in. I mean, basically, Delpo's biggest mistake in that match against Isner was to spin back to Isner way too much. On the backhand side in particular, he would spin back these shots, and Isner would have time to kind of run around them, tee them up, and then absolutely let loose these massive forehands, often with incredible pace, so many of which were just simply unreturnable. So that was Delpo's fault. Of course, sometimes the big serve comes in, and all you can do is kind of spin the ball back, and then you're kind of screwed with Isner on the other side of the court in that situation if his forehand is working, and it has been working. So what can I say? The Isner serve and lethal forehand could be enough. Could be enough to get the better of the young man Zverev, who showed a lot of promise last year, has been really fulfilling that promise so far at this tournament. And the big question for me is, can he sustain it? Can he push through and maintain this very high level of play? And we're just going to have to see. He's been a bit undependable. And in a strange way, this kind of came out of nowhere with Zverev. People have been disappointed in Zverev, to say the least. Obviously, he had a couple of bright moments last year, but he's just disappointed so many times. He's just fallen apart in matches so many times. And if that happens for some reason, if these serves and big forehands from Isner are just too much for Zverev psychologically to take, then it could be a problem for him. Isner could take this Miami title. It really is a hard match to predict. Zverev does have the advantage going in because he's 3-0 against Isner, but there have been some very close matches between these two. Notably, last year at Miami, it was a match that went to 3 tiebreaks. That's about as close as it gets. So this could really go either way. And I would say that if both players continue to display the form, the very high level of form that they've been displaying throughout the tournament, then possibly I would give Zverev the edge. Just a small edge, winning in 3 sets, in other words, with a couple of tie breaks. We'll have to see how it goes. But if either player cracks, then it could just be a shutout because that's how good the other player is playing, essentially. That's how good each of them are if they continue to maintain this form. If one of the other ones cracks, if Isner, again, he's disappointed so many times this year, if Isner just kind of falls a little bit below that impeccable level of play that he's been showing us, well, then Zverev is going to get an edge in. But in a way, since Zverev's the younger player, it's almost more likely that we might see something problematic coming from his end of the court. I don't think anyone could have predicted this final, particularly Isner. I have been talking about Isner as a member of this old guard, although he does have a kind of boyish face. But he obviously has been performing. He's been as quite a high ranking for the past year. He's been able to maintain a pretty high level, but nothing like what we've seen in this tournament. I mean, John Isner, folks, is on fire. And again, if he can maintain that level, Zverev is going to have a big problem on his hands. A bigger problem than he had with Nick Kyrgios. A much bigger problem than he had with Borna Coric. And a bigger problem that he had with Pablo Carreño Busta. I think Federer's absence is very influential in the outcome in terms of the particular men left standing here. I think Zverev has been able to come alive precisely because Federer's out of the picture. He doesn't have to worry about Federer at all. And we'll just have to see how this turns out. It's going to be an exciting final. On the women's side, Sloane Stephens won the Miami Open. That was a very interesting match against Ostapenko. And gosh, neither of those women could really hold their serves in the first set. It was kind of a frustrating experience to watch that. But Sloane Stephens did find form, find ways to get her serve protected in the second set and really just cleaned up in that second set. So congratulations to Sloane Stephens. I think this is her biggest title behind the U.S. Open title that she won. But I really like her. I'm a fan of her playing. I'm a fan of her looks. I kind of have a crush on Sloane Stephens. Don't tell my wife. But it was a great match to watch, and she deserves a lot of credit, a lot of respect, and just congratulations to her. But all eyes are on the final tomorrow. So I will have more to say tomorrow about this. There's a couple of other pieces of news that I'll probably talk about tomorrow as well. But For now, we've got to stay focused. Leave comments about who you predict. I think this is kind of unpredictable, this match. If both players maintain this form, I think it's going to be very hard for both of them to find inroads into the other's service games, first of all. And it might just come down to a question of who can find an edge during the tiebreakers, because it might be 3 sets of tiebreakers, folks. That's a very clear possible scenario, because they're such big servers, and neither of them have been giving an inch on their service games, and they're so strong in terms of the protection of those serves that it's probably going to be tiebreakers. Now, Roger's not playing, so it's not going to be so stressful. There's a dark side to watching Roger play, and it's that it's very emotional sometimes, particularly for the Fed heads. But with this match, it won't be so emotional, but it could be something of a nail-biter. I just have a small part of me that tends to favor Isner here. I don't know what it is about him, but again, there is this level of play that he's been showing, but also his run to the final. Delpo, he takes out Delpo. He takes out Cilic. Big. It's a big win. He takes out Chung, who was playing wonderfully. So Zverev has had a bit of an easier road into the final, and I just don't know if he has had anything like the challenge that Isner is offering here, is throwing up here. And listen, it's going to be a great match. This is great tennis. Federer's absence is important in explaining why these two are the 2 men left standing, particularly with Zverev, I think. And so Roger's there. Roger's here with us in a strange way, but it's just amazing how influential he is, even when he's not there. Even when he's not there. So I've still been thinking about Federer a lot, because he's kind of the point of reference in thinking about what's going on here. But of course, like I was saying last time, I mean, the entire Big Four power structure is gone from the tournament. So it's the first time in many, many years that none of the players from the Big Four have been in the tournament, at the quarterfinal stage or 4th round stage or whatever. I mean, they're just nowhere to be found. So this is a real opportunity for the young players. Congratulations to Alex Zverev for the deep run that he's already had. I wish him the best in tomorrow's match. He's certainly capable of edging Isner, as the history between the 2 players shows. But Isner is a threat. Isner is on fire, folks. So watch the match. Go over to Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. And so we can have a discussion during the match about the events of the match. Again, it could be a real nail-biter, but I am really looking forward to this match. Absolutely. So more to come tomorrow. I hope everyone is well, and we will talk very soon. Be well. Bye.